Celebrating 49 years on the air, award-winning Farmweek is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.
Today, in our next to last Farm Week episode ever, quite a reaction to the new World Screwworm. This week, more on that story. In Southern gardening, a classic, a rose is a rose by any other name. In the markets, one of Zach's favorite stories, a review of Mississippi's timber industry. And in our feature, one of Mike's favorites, also in timber, Tree Farm Econ. Farm Week starts right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Zach Ashmore.
And I'm Mike Russell. Thanks for joining us here on our next to last Farm Week show. Good to have you with us. The fight against the new World Screwworm now spread across 2 states, 7 cases in the U.S., 6 in Texas, and 1 in New Mexico. Laurel Bauer reports.
Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins appeared before the Senate Agriculture Committee this week to discuss the priorities of USDA. While several topics were covered, the new World Screwworm was at the top of the agenda for border state lawmakers.
Can I just get your commitment that wherever we see this damn screwworm, those states are going to be prioritized? Like now, I get what you shared with on the dog in New Mexico or whatever, but Texas and New Mexico have had it. So is that a commitment I can get from you? Wherever this thing starts popping up, that moves those states up to the priority with responses.
100%, and that's been the containment effort. Every model, Senator, showed it would hit our side of the border, Texas and New Mexico, by last summer. Yeah. So we've been able to hold it at bay for a year while we've been building out these facilities and staffing up.
Recent Trump administration workforce and funding cuts, spearheaded by the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, reduced the USDA's overall staff and eliminated essential Central American screwworm monitoring programs. Critics warn these reductions have delayed rapid response and prevention efforts in South Texas.
The Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service has lost 25% of its staff, including more than 300 employees in veterinary services alone since the administration came in. How do you plan on ensuring that each of these critical threats, such as New World Screwworm, receives individualized resources?
A year and a half ago, there were 10 APHIS employees working full-time, a total of 10 working full-time all in. Now we've got over 120. So we've increased the amount of employees in APHIS working on New World Screwworm by 1,000% in the last 14 months. So as you can see, we're prioritizing where the big threats are.
NWS is a serious pest that threatens livestock, pets, wildlife, and in rare cases, people. The larvae burrow into the living tissue of animals, causing severe wounds, animal suffering, and significant economic losses.
Just one question about the screwworm. Have we opened any of the border in Mexico, either the west coast or the east coast at the border?
No, the ports have been closed for a year, and that allowed us to keep it out. I think that if we'd opened any of those ports, we would have had it on our side 6 months, 8 months, 10 months ago.
Are you putting the fly traps or whatever you call them all along the border? Where are they?
They're all along the border. We have a polygon that gets adjusted every day. So on Wednesday of last week, when the calf with the first confirmed case, a 3-week-old calf in La Pryor, Texas, was confirmed, we, within 4 hours, were dropping 8 million sterile flies right on top of that ranch, and they have had no other cases. And this just proves the efficacy of the technology. So yes, we're constantly moving based on where the cases are popping up.
USDA is urging any cattle producer who detects screwworm to report it immediately.
Reaction to the spread of the screwworm widespread, the USDA continues to ramp up against it. So next week will be the last episode of Farm Week, going all the way back 49 years. We received a kind note from the Mississippi Business Journal, with whom we've collaborated over the years. Here's what publisher Scott Coopwood had to say. For nearly 5 decades, Farm Week has been an invaluable resource for Mississippi's agricultural community, providing trusted news, insight, and storytelling that highlighted the importance of farming across our state. We at the Mississippi Business Journal are saddened to see the program conclude its remarkable run after 49 seasons on the air. At the same time, we are deeply grateful for the lasting contributions Farmweek has made to Mississippi agriculture and the countless individuals it has informed and served through the years. The show's commitment to covering the challenges, successes, and innovations of our farming community leaves a legacy that will not soon be forgotten. As Farmweek signs off at the end of the month, we extend our sincere appreciation to everyone who helped make it a Mississippi institution. We appreciate that tribute from the Mississippi Business Journal and our collaboration with Mr. Coopwood and his staff over the years. And a reminder, we'll have a short clip from my interview with former Farmweek anchors Leighton Spann and Artis Ford at the end of the show. The interview itself airs in our last Farmweek broadcast next week.
On the lighter side, one last Southern gardening segment for you from Dr. Eddie Smith. This one about a landscape classic, the rose, specifically David Austin roses. Here's Eddie.
There's just something about roses in a southern garden. They bring timeless beauty, incredible fragrance, and a touch of romance that never goes out of style. Today, we're featuring 3 exceptional varieties of David Austin roses. Let's start with Munstead Wood. This is one of those roses that stops you in your tracks. The blooms are a deep velvety crimson, almost wine-colored, with layers of tightly packed petals that give it that classic old-world look. And like many David Austin roses, the fragrance is rich, fruity, and strong enough to fill the air around you on a warm southern afternoon. In our climate, Munstead Wood performs best with full sun and good air circulation to help it manage humidity and keep the foliage looking its best. Now, let's take a look at Gabriel Oak. This variety brings a slightly brighter tone to the garden with its glowing deep pink blooms. The flowers are full, perfectly rounded, and repeat bloom beautifully throughout the season. It's a wonderful choice for adding structure and color to a mixed border, and it responds well to consistent watering and a layer of mulch to protect those roots from our southern heat. And if you're looking to brighten up things, the Poet's Wife is a standout among David Austin's yellow roses. It produces bright yellow blooms. The petals open into a bright, beautifully cupped form, giving it an elegant, luminous presence in the garden. If you're ready to add color, fragrance, and timeless charm to your garden, these roses are a beautiful place to start. I'm Eddie Smith, and I will see you next time on Southern Gardening.
We'll take a break right here, but don't go away. Coming up, one of my favorite Farm Week stories, tree farm economics. We head to the peaceful town of Aberdeen, Mississippi. There we meet Mr. Bobby Watkins, whose tall pines planted more than 30 years ago are both his retirement income and his legacy. Mr. Watkins was born to be a tree farmer. His love of the land sustains the here and now and will cradle generations to come. That's coming up on Farm Week. Don't go away.
Mississippi, let's get moving. Join the Magnolia Moves Activity Challenge. The Mississippi State University Extension Service is offering this virtual challenge for individuals of any age or teams of family, colleagues, students, church members, or any other group. Join the 6-week April the 20th through May 31st challenge at no cost, and you'll set your own goals for becoming more active and eating healthier. You'll download the MoveSpring app or use the desktop version. Register for Magnolia Moves, and with automatic tracking, your movements and activities will be captured automatically to give you a clear, real-time view of your progress and achievements. Also, Extension will hold weekly prize drawings for participation across 5 different age categories. So join us and get fit and feel better, eat healthier, manage your weight, and exercise regularly. Magnolia Moves makes fitness accessible, practical, and enjoyable for everyone. Visit msuext.ms/Magnolia Moves to learn more, ask questions, and register today.
believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations and their faith. I believed that education, of which extension work is an essential part, is basic in stimulating individual initiative, self-determination, and leadership. I believe that these are the keys to democracy, and that people, when given facts they understand, will act not only in their self-interest, but also in the interest of society. I believe in intellectual freedom to search for and present the truth without bias and with courteous tolerance towards the views of others. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
Time for our final market report for Farm Week, as next week is our last goodbye.
You know, Mike, it's been a lot of fun doing that market report, and I know you, our viewers, have reached out to me as well. So I thought I'd leave with a special report I did several years ago on the Mississippi timber industry. It's quite a piece. It's a piece I'm quite proud of, and many of the facts are still relevant today. See for yourself. If you drive through or fly over Mississippi, you'll see very quickly that this state is a sea of green woodlands. With such abundance comes a unique industry, forestry, the third largest industry in the state, bringing in $3.3 billion of income and creating over 64,000 forestry-related jobs. Mississippi is over 2/3 forest land. That's about 19 million acres. Over 3/4 of that is privately owned, and there's about 3,000 certified American tree farms in the state. They grow hardwood, softwood, or both. I reached out to Ginger Williamson, Timber Commerce Liaison for the Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce, to find out more.
Mississippi is the third largest timber producer by acres produced, with nearly 20 million acres of forest land in the southeast. Predominantly, the majority of the hardwood that is milled for lumber in our state is red oak, and of course the softwood is southern yellow pine. We have nearly 1 billion green tons of forest growing in our forest land. That's a lot of timber. So we are well situated both in the southeast and nationwide as far as our timber resource, and really globally.
With these resources, it only makes sense that Mississippi timber finds its way to the domestic marketplace. But what you might not know is just how much it's also going international.
One of the things that we have begun to do here is to host international buyers to come to Mississippi. They're familiar with other states and their timber resources, but they haven't been as familiar with what Mississippi has to offer. So we have hosted international buyers from India, China, Vietnam, Spain, Great Britain, Mexico, Dominican Republic, lots of different countries. And when you tell them that we have 20 million acres of forest land, it blows their mind, because some of these countries don't have 20 million acres, much less 20 million acres of harvestable forest land. So it is a real eye-opener.
With that kind of impact on the world stage, it leads to an obvious question. We've got the wood, we've got the buyers, but what exactly are they buying?
We have a lot of dimensional lumber. We have utility poles that are shipped all over the world. We have a lot of beams that can be used for construction mats that are used in the oil fields and various other construction sites. We have, of course, wood pellets, and that's a huge product right now globally. Wood pellets are used for power. So Japan uses a lot of our wood pellets for energy. Throughout Europe, they use a lot of the wood pellets for home heating. But on the larger scale, they're used for energy production in replacement, oftentimes, of coal.
With such an important resource, it only makes sense that we would do our best to preserve it. Mississippi tree growers and harvesters have adopted practices that will help keep our timberlands healthy for future generations.
Sustainability is very important to us, and we have that all the way from loggers going through Sustainable Forestry Initiative training to the way our forests are managed. And so part of our finding markets helps with managing our forest properly to be able to find markets for different aspects of forestry.
With the advent of safer practices, the stewardship of growers who love their land, and the assistance of state and federal programs, it looks like Mississippi forestry is going to reach new highs in the coming years. It may not be the #1 timber producing state, but they do make an impact and they try to do it right. For Farm Week, I'm Zach Ashmore, reporting. Since that report aired, timber in Mississippi has become the #2 industry, reaching more than $1.5 billion a year. Well, that's it for a deeper look into the markets altogether. It's been an honor and a pleasure to bring this to y'all week after week. Thank you so much for your support. Mike?
And thank you, Zach. And here's my favorite, also about the timber industry. With so much of the state covered in trees, we've done many stories on forestry. This one was shot during the height of COVID in 2020. It felt good to get outside. Take a look.
I just always have loved land and being outside and camping out and Boy Scouts and different things. And we've got a real pretty lake we sit by every afternoon and just enjoy being outside, listening to birds and looking at the clouds.
Bobby Watkins was born to be a tree farmer. These pines, planted 30 years ago just outside the peaceful town of Aberdeen, Mississippi, are both his retirement income and his legacy. Today, under his watchful eye, Bobby's friend and trusted logger Rodney Johnson is doing the final harvest on land bought long ago by Bobby's grandfather after World War I. The pines, he says, are in his blood.
I started coming up here in the 50s, actually, with my grandfather, and most of this land was in row crops, soybeans, corn, grain sorghum. That really wasn't the best use for the land, and so the best use is trees. And so we started planting pine trees in these old soybean and cotton fields in the late 80s.
Back in the day, Bobby got degrees from Mississippi State in animal science, agronomy, and entomology. For the next 30 years, he worked in corporate America in the research end of agricultural chemicals. All of that was excellent preparation for someone interested in forestry, which he's been doing exclusively for the last decade and a half. It also helped him develop a long-term plan.
We have a management plan, so everything's written down. Of course, the plan can change and you can modify it, but if you have a road map, like a flight plan, a plan to follow for 30 years to 50 years, you can follow that plan. It makes it a lot easier on everybody, especially your extended family and friends that you can share it with. Rodney, y'all will be through in another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then what do you think I'm gonna have to spend or do to get ready to site prep and to plant?
Yeah.
Rodney Johnson has known Bobby for 20 years. A veteran logger and Logger of the Year himself in 2017, Johnson has done 2 thinnings on Bobby's land and now the final harvest in a 30-year rotation. The two of them have looked far ahead over the years to maximize the tree harvest in every way. And by the way, if you're a landowner and want Rodney to cut for you, you'll need to make an appointment at least 2 years out. His company is that much in demand.
Bobby loves the land. He loves the trees and he's proud of what he's done. He's worked really hard over the years to do it. And Bobby studies and he makes informed decisions. And Bobby's not looking for tomorrow, but he's looking for the future.
Needless to say, that kind of effort and foresight in their partnership has also maximized the money both of them have made over that time.
I've come over here quite a few times and we walked through the property and looked at it and looking down the road we'll say, in 5 years we need to do this. And I've always said no plan is a plan to fail. I didn't make that up, somebody else said it a long time ago. But in the timber industry, and if you're farming trees, you don't get to do the harvest that often. So you need to plan for the future.
Another partner essential to the success of a tree farmer is a forester. Davis Lovelace is a veteran. He has a degree in forestry and wildlife management and worked for the Mississippi Forestry Commission for a time. His advice is priceless.
Well, the first thing that I would ask a landowner is, what's your goals? What do you want to do? What do you want out of this property? For most people, it's a legacy. You know, what am I going to leave to my children? To others, it's an investment. What kind of money am I going to make on this? To others, it's recreation. You know, how do you spend your time in the woods? I mean, there's a lot of different directions that you could go, but it all depends on the first thing is, what is the landowner's goals for their property? What do they want off of it? Trees grow like weeds in this part of the world. So whether you want to do it or not, it's going to happen. You have to look at it like a crop, just like any other crop. Whether it's cotton, soybeans, rice, peanuts. The only difference in this commodity and those commodities is the rotation, right? You're looking at a 1-year rotation for row crop and a 30-year rotation till final harvest on trees. You will get a return on your investment within the first 10 to 12 years, depending on what kind of ground you are, because you're going to thin it. Then you're going to wait another 10 years or so, and then you're going to thin it again. Like, this is the 4th time that he's made money off of this ground here.
So, even though wood prices aren't exactly what they were years ago, many of the thousands of tree farmers in the country will still make money and will still have something substantial to hand down.
It can work, and it does work. It not just can, it still does work. I don't know anybody that planted pine trees that lost money. Everybody I've cut their trees for got money for them and made a profit. It might not have been potentially what they thought it would be, but they still did well. You can still buy land, and you can still invest, and you can still make money. I'm still doing it. I'm still buying land and trees. You just have to look for the right opportunity. When I buy a car, I don't go out and buy the first one that I see. I don't buy at the first price they quote me at generally. So it's all about your negotiation skills and looking and, you know, just finding the right fit for you and what your circumstances are.
Of course, there's an eco-impact too. Bobby is proud of how his trees stimulate the environment and impact his tree farming strategies amplify.
Each tree in a year produces about 220 pounds of oxygen. After they take the CO2 in, they split it off. We're storing carbon. We're making 220 pounds of oxygen per year. A person breathes about 1,600 pounds of oxygen. So 8 trees out here growing produce enough oxygen for you for a year.
And lest someone look at the empty land left behind after a final harvest and criticize the lack of trees, Bobby knows that after the next planting and rotation, there will come an even stronger harvest.
I'm sure somebody would look at this clear cut and say you shouldn't be destroying trees. We've got an overabundance of trees, and I'm taking out older trees that are not going to live forever. So we're harvesting something that's a renewable resource. It's not going to live forever, and replacing it with even better growing, vigorous trees.
Bottom line, Southerners have planted trees for retirement, and in the process created a nest egg that sustained both the here and now and will cradle the generations to come. After all, as the saying goes, money may not grow on trees, but it's a darn good start.
As we speak, Bobby Watkins on safari in Botswana, South Africa. He said he hopes to send us a note before he heads back. Next week, in the very last episode of Farm Week, the interview we've been talking about for a while now, my chat with former Farm Week anchors Leighton Spann and Artis Ford. Here's a preview. Here we are, 3 old hired hands. I've been in the Farm Week chair for 8.5 years, but that pales in comparison to the 57 combined years of you two. How does it feel to be saying goodbye to a show that meant so much to the two of you?
Well, obviously it's sad. You poured in so many years to a production you would hope would be around, you know, even after we're gone, but times change. A lot of reasons why we're here talking about the end of a show.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a little sadness. I mean, you know, you put a lot of time in on it, but times do change.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, things have changed so much from since I retired 10 years ago. you know, in TV with streaming video and all that sorts of stuff coming into the market. That
well, you look now, local newscasts. I mean, a lot of stations are paring back on the local productions, you know, just because the audience, I don't think, is there anymore for a lot of the shows.
Yeah.
49 years is a long time for a show to be on the air.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And we were kind of hoping that we'd stay on the air till, you know, at least through 50. But 49 years is a good run. And a lot happened on the show just during my time on the show. And for you guys, sitting next to each other again after some time away, lots happened when you were in the chair.
But that's an indication of commitment, though. Bill Bost was Extension Director, and he was really very forward-thinking. And he, television, radio, when the opportunity came along to do Farm Week, he jumped on it. So a lot owes to the fact that there was just a lot of commitment from the Extension Service to do Farm Week.
Just a quick clip from that interview. We'll have the complete chat next week.
Remember, if you missed a story, look for past episodes of Farm Week on our website at farmweek.tv.
And you can still follow us on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you next week for the final episode of Farm Week.